God says there are only 2 hours left. Open this now. Do not ignore this pull in your spirit. And do not treat it like an ordinary message. Because this is not random. This is a private warning and a personal confirmation for you. Chosen one. Heaven has marked this moment. And you were meant to hear these words now. Not later. Hear me clearly. A window is opening over your life. And you do not have time to stay distracted. God is saying that good news is closer than it looks. What felt delayed is beginning to move. What looked silent was never empty. He has seen your hidden tears, your private exhaustion, and the questions you could not put into words. He watched you carry pain with no applause, and he did not turn away. Let me tell you, this message is not here to entertain you. It is here to wake you up. You are standing at a threshold between the season that drained you and the season that will reveal what God has been preparing in secret. The enemy wanted you tired, numb, and ready to give up at the edge of your breakthrough. But God would not let darkness have the final word. He is calling you back into focus. He is telling you to pay attention. He is reminding you that you are not forgotten, not overlooked, and not abandoned. This is an appointed hour. Something is shifting. Something is loosening. Something that has been held back is about to open by the hand of God. You do not need to understand everything yet, but you do need to respond. So if this word speaks directly to your spirit, comment 777 right now. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs this confirmation, because this is your act of faith at the doorway of your blessing. And answer this in your heart before we go on. Have you felt that something in your life was about to change, even before this message appeared? Because the next part will reveal why this word found you now, and why not everyone was meant to hear it. Hear me clearly, this word found you because heaven intended it to find you. Not everyone can carry a message like this, because not everyone has been marked the way you have been marked. You are not just someone trying to survive another hard season. You are someone God has set apart. You are someone He has been shaping in silence, watching in secret, and calling deeper than the people around you can understand. That is why certain doors closed. That is why some voices fell away. That is why you have felt separated, even in rooms full of people. God is saying that your isolation was not proof of rejection. It was part of your preparation. Chosen does not always feel glorious at first. Sometimes it feels lonely. Sometimes it feels like being misunderstood, overlooked, or hidden while others move ahead. But let me tell you the truth. Hidden is not forgotten. Hidden is where oil is formed. Hidden is where strength is built. Hidden is where God removes the need for human approval and teaches you to move by His voice alone. You thought you were losing people, but in many cases, God was clearing noise away from your calling. You thought you were being pushed aside, but He was pulling you closer. He is calling you now because this next season cannot be entered with the old need to explain yourself to everyone. You do not need the crowd to confirm what God already spoke. You do not need permission from people who cannot see what heaven placed on your life. This moment is not for those who doubted you, dismissed you, or misunderstood your journey. This is between you and God. And if your spirit knows you have been in a season of separation, stretching, and hidden formation, type, I am chosen for this hour. Have you felt lately that God was pulling you away from what once felt familiar? Hold that question in your spirit, because the next part will show you why the silence was never absence. Let me tell you something. The enemy never wanted you to understand The silence was not empty, and it was not harmless. It was serious. It was costly. It was the kind of season that can either deepen a soul or crush it. Because when heaven seems quiet, fear starts speaking louder. That is why this part of your journey felt so dangerous. You were not just battling delay. You were battling interpretation. You were standing in the tension between what God promised and what your pain suggested. And that tension can wound a person deeply if they begin to call God absent when He is actually working. Hear me clearly. What made this season heavy was not only what you lost, but what the loss tried to convince you about God. It tried to tell you that closed doors meant rejection, that waiting meant neglect, that unanswered prayers meant distance. But Scripture says, the revelation awaits an appointed time. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come. That means delay is not proof of denial. It means heaven can be moving on a clock deeper than your emotions can read. Lewis understood something many people only learn after they have been broken open by life. In The Problem of Pain, he wrote that God shouts in our pains. Lewis did not mean pain is holy by itself, or that suffering is easy to romanticize. He meant pain refuses to let a soul stay numb. It drags hidden fears into the light. It exposes false foundations. It interrupts the illusion that you can survive on comfort alone. And that is exactly why your season became so intense. The pain was not merely hurting you. It was uncovering what your soul had been leaning on besides God. It was showing you where your hope had become tangled with people, outcomes, timing, and signs. Lewis saw pain as a severe mercy, not because it feels kind, but because it tells the truth when everything else has gone quiet. That is why you cannot afford to misread what happened to you. Those sleepless nights were real. The tears were real. The exhaustion was real. But the conclusion fear whispered to you was false. God was not standing far off while you struggled to breathe through disappointment. He was guarding what was not yet ready, restraining what would have crushed an unprepared version of you, and building endurance in places nobody could see. This was not passive waiting. This was hidden formation. This was the breaking of shallow faith so a deeper faith could rise. Lewis returns here again, because his insight cuts straight through sentiment. Pain gets your attention because it will not let you keep pretending. And in your case, that mattered, because God was calling you out of survival mode and into surrender. He was teaching you to trust Him when there was no applause, no proof, no visible movement, only His word and your trembling obedience. So do not call that season wasted. Do not call yourself forgotten. The silence was severe. Yes, but it was not empty. It was the workshop of God. And now that you are beginning to see that, you are ready to understand why the hidden preparation had to be so deep before the breakthrough could become visible. What if the doors stayed closed because heaven was doing a deeper work than simply giving you what you asked for? Hear me clearly. Some things did not break down because God abandoned you. They broke down because they were too small, too shallow, or too unclean to carry the weight of where He is taking you. That is the part many people do not understand. They think preparation always looks like progress. They think if God is moving, everything should feel clear, fast, and confirming. But hidden preparation rarely feels glorious while you are inside it. It feels like loss. It feels like restriction. It feels like being overlooked while others move ahead. It feels like holding your breath in a dark place while heaven seems to say, Not yet. But let me tell you the truth. Not yet is not cruelty when it comes from the hand of God. Sometimes it is mercy. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is the only way your spirit can be strengthened enough to carry the promise without being destroyed by it. God was not just keeping something for you. He was building something in you. He was increasing your capacity, purifying your motives, cutting away your dependence on applause, and teaching you how to obey when nobody was there to celebrate your obedience. That is why the hidden season hurts so deeply. It was not just about waiting for an open door. It was about becoming the kind of person who could walk through that door without dragging fear, pride, people-pleasing, and old wounds into the next season. Hev. Lewis understood this kind of testing. In the Screwtape Letters, he wrote, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. That cuts deeper than it sounds. It means faith is not proven when faith is convenient. Purity is not proven when temptation is far away. Trust is not proven when all the evidence is visible. Everything is tested at the point of pressure. Everything is revealed where it costs you something to stay true. And that is exactly what God was doing in you. He was bringing your spirit to the testing point. He was letting the hidden place reveal whether your yes was still yes without public reward, without instant answers, without visible movement. That is why you cannot despise this season, even if it bruised you. In the hidden place, God taught you restraint. He taught you discernment. He taught you how to survive silence without inventing lies about His character. He taught you how to carry pain without running back to what He had already called you out of. He taught you how to stand still without becoming spiritually asleep. This was not wasted time. This was construction. This was enlargement. This was the making of spiritual weight. And now that the hidden work has gone deeper than your feelings, the warfare around you makes more sense. Because hell does not panic over who you used to be. It reacts to who you are becoming. Let me warn you, the warfare grew heavier because the hour grew closer. The pressure was not random. The confusion was not random. The sudden fatigue, the emotional swings, the heaviness that seemed to fall on you without warning, the strange sense that something was resisting you right when you were trying to stay faithful, none of it was random. Hear me clearly, hell does not waste energy attacking what has no threat to it. The enemy does not fight an empty future. He fights revelation. He fights timing.